Hello everyone, myself Sowmya, Assistant Professor in CSE AIML Department, MLR Institute of Technology. So in this video, we are going to discuss about PHP functions. So the overview of this presentation, what is a function, how to create user-defined functions, and how to write a function with arguments, and what is meant by default arguments and how to pass these default arguments to functions, and functions returning values with example applications we will discuss in this video. So first of all, what is a function? So function is nothing but it's a block of statements that can be used repeatedly in a program. So you are writing a block of statements and you're naming that using a function. For example, add. I can call this function for any number of times. That means reusability. You're writing for once and you're using that function for multiple times. So a function will not execute immediately when a page loads. So a function will not be executed until someone calls. I'm writing this add function, but it will not be executed. Why? Because I should call that function if it is a user-defined function. And a function will be executed by a call to the function. That's what. So function is nothing but it's a set of statements to do a particular task. So whenever I call that function, the function will be executed. So how to create a user-defined function in PHP? So you're creating a user-defined function PHP using a keyword called function. So function followed by function name, and open the curly brace and write the code you want to execute under this function and close the brace. So whenever you want to execute this function, you should call that function using the function name. And if you have any parameters, you should pass that parameters within this function parenthesis. So coming to the example. So this is a basic example, a function without any arguments. So I'm starting the PHP code. I'm creating a function using the keyword function followed by function name, and I don't have any parameters here. So within this function, I'm just printing a message, hello world. So till this, if I simply write this, nothing will happen. The function will not be executed. So when the function will be executed, whenever I call that function explicitly. So I'm calling this function. What is the function name? Write message. I don't have any parameters here. So that's why I'm not passing any parameters. So simply write message. It will call this function. So this function will execute this message, hello world. So the output for this program is hello world. So we'll see the execution all of these programs at a time. So next is function with arguments. So in the previous program, we didn't pass any arguments, parameters. So now the same syntax, function followed by function name. Here I'm passing a parameter $fname. So $fname is a parameter. So now here in this function, I'm just printing this $fname. So whatever the parameter I'm getting, then the same value I'm going to print here. So this function again, you should call this to execute this, right? So I'm calling this function for 4 times by passing different 4 values. So whatever the value you're passing, that the same thing will be printed. So this is the output I'll get. First time you're passing Jani. So Jani, Hege, Stale and Kai. So all these 4 values, whatever the values you're sending, the same value will be printed on the output. So next is functions with default arguments. So what is meant by default arguments? So if you don't pass any value for any particular parameter, then the default value will be considered. So there's a use of default parameters. For example, I'm writing add of a comma b. So here I have to pass 2 different parameters. If I write add of 2 comma 3, then only this function will be called. If I write add of 2, then it will not be called. Why? Because the signature is, it is taking 2 different parameters, but you're trying to call the function by passing only 1 parameter, which is not accepted here. So now I can make the second value as default. That means I'm giving at the time of function declaration or function definition, I'm giving the b value as 2 for default. The sense, if the user pass any value for b, then take that value. If he doesn't pass any value, then take this default value. For example, if I call add 2 comma 3, then a will be 2, b will be 3. But if I call add of 2, then a will be 2, and what about b? For b, I have given a default value as 2, then that will be considered. So that is the use of default parameters. So here the definition will be little bit different here. So function keyword, the name of the function, the parameter, and for this parameter you should also assign some value. This is the default value. If the user doesn't pass any value for minimum height, then the 50 will be considered. If the user pass any value, then the corresponding value will be consider. So here simply I am printing the message, the height is min height. So the height is here. For example, consider the first call, he is passing 350, then the height will be 350. But coming to the second call, he is not passing any value, so that's why he is taking the default value as 50. So that's a use of default argument. So what is the output I'll get here? The first one is 350, second value no value, so that's why you're taking 50, and the third one is 500 again. So next is function returning values. So we are writing a function to do a particular task. After completing the task, what about the output? So the output generated by the function, it may print the value or it may return the value. So how to catch that value if the function is returning? So that we will see in this example. So you're writing a function, the function name is sum, and this function is taking two different parameters, $x and $y. So here I'm calculating the sum of these two values. I'm storing that value in a local variable called $x. So this $x value here, either I can print here or I can send this value to the calling function. So now I'm simply returning this $z value, right? So now whenever you call this function sum of some numbers, then this function will return some value. So whenever the function is returning some value, so at the calling side, someone should be there to catch that value, or at least it should print that value. So here what I'm doing, directly in the echo for printing, I'm calling this function. So whatever the value it is returning, that will be printed directly on the output window. So sum of 5, 10, so that is 5 plus 10 is 15. So next is 13 plus 7 is 20, 2 plus 4 is 6. So this is the output I will get. If I don't write this within the echo statement, then you should store this value in a variable, sum of 10, 20. Either you can print this directly using echo, or you can store that value in a variable called $x. So the output for all this is the one. So we will see output for all these by executing these programs. So the first function, basic function without any arguments, hello world. So next, function with arguments. So whatever I'm passing in the parameter, the same thing will be printed. I'm calling the function for 4 times by passing 4 different values. So whatever the values I'm passing, the same thing I'm getting. So next is functions with default arguments. So first time I'm passing 350. So 350 I'm getting. Second time I'm not passing anything. So that's why I'm getting default as 20. Third time I'm passing 500. So I'm getting 500. So this is function returning value. The function is calculating the sum of the two values and it is returning. So 5 plus 10 is 15, 7 plus 13 is 20, 2 plus 4 is 6. So in this video, we have discussed about different functions like what is a function, how to create a user-defined function, how to create a user-defined function with arguments and the default arguments, and the functions returning values with example applications. Thank you.